When I tell someone that I am a biologist, that I studied biology, but I work with web development, first thing people ask is how and why?
How?
Today I want to share with you guys my story, how I managed to change paths and why I decided to do so, and hopefully give you some tips that can help you in your journey looking for a new position as a developer. I just want to share with you some ideas, some stuff that worked for me that you might be able to apply in your life, and that's gonna help you landing your so desired job. With that being said, no more drama. So let's start from the beginning. We are gonna travel in time just a little bit. When I was younger, my parents owned a company for internet services, literally like dial-up connections, when you had to call and order internet. I want to buy internet. One of the things that started coming up in the 90s was web development. We had no IDEs at the time. We didn't even have CSS for styling the page. We had nothing. And I remember my dad, he had a few books about web development and front-end development. And I was very curious, and I'm still a very curious person. That's one of the reasons I went to science, but more on that later. So using those little books, I started copying the code that I was seeing there into a notepad. It was our IDE at the time, a notepad. And I still remember my first web page was like pink with a Barbie in the center, of shiny flying things following your mouse. It was all this stuff from the 90s, right? That was my first web page. I was always amazed how you had the freedom to create wherever you wanted. You have a feeling a little bit like God when you can program, right? When you can create things out of nothing.
I am God!
So that was my first experience. I was really young. I was literally just copying things from the book, I'd save as a .html file, and I could open in a browser and see the results of my code. From there onwards, I helped my dad with several developments and my mom creating pages for their clients. And we even used to use many different CMSs like Joomla. We used some software to create layouts like Dreamweaver, Fireworks for image editing. So all these kinds of tools that used to facilitate web development. So I had a tiny bit of experience in all of that because I was at the same time going to school. I had my normal life. So I would see them doing it. I would try to do too, ask questions. My mom used to do all the graphic stuff, so I learned Photoshop, a lot of Photoshop from her. And on the side, in school, I was really good with biology. Because as I mentioned, I am a very curious person and I wanted to know why. So I have to understand the little bits and pieces of everything, of every information that someone tells me, someone passes along to me. Otherwise, I probably won't believe it.
I don't believe it.
But anyway, when I was at my age of choosing careers, what I wanted to study, I decided to go for science. I wanted to do medicine. But in any case, I was always more interested in the machines and technology than dealing with people.
You don't like people, huh?
So even if I did go into medicine, I would follow the path of research. But once you look really into it, you can do that by studying biology too. So that's what I decided to do. I applied for biology instead. And I had to stand up because my chair is on fire. Holy moly! It's like 35 degrees here and I'm like burning. So in 2011, I started my studies in biology in Brazil and I didn't have time to develop anymore. But in 2012, I started to dedicate myself to create a platform to teach biology. In fact, I have another channel that it's in Portuguese just to make biology videos. I don't actually use it anymore, I don't make new videos, but it's still there, it's still valid information, so I left it there. It's educational content. My idea was to create a platform where I could teach biology to young people trying to get into the universities. And in order to do that, I had to learn everything, because for the first time I was dealing with a whole project by myself. And that is the first tip I have for you. Find a project. Find something you can start with. For real, be realistic. Something practical that you can act on and that you have a beginning and an end. You're going to learn so much from hosting until the front end, how to make it look nice. You're gonna be doing full stack work. after that, I came to Germany with a program from the state. It was called Science Without Borders, and I came to study German and 2 semesters in a university. And once I was here, I also had the chance to meet with other exchange program students from Brazil studying computer science. And I spent a lot of time with them. And with that, I also learned a lot from them, just asking questions and looking and watching what they were doing. And on the side, I also had my classes. Of course, I did practical courses in multiple departments in biology. The one that called my attention the most was the Department of Alzheimer's Studies. So what I decided to do was to come back for a master's degree, and that's what happened. I went back to Brazil, finished graduation, came back to Germany, started my master's in molecular cell biology and neurobiology. 1 year after I started, I was able to start doing more practical courses in neurobiology, but it wasn't what I was expecting. When you work in the lab, you have to do the same over and over and over again. And if it works, amazing! Do it again. In order to study the brain, you need live brains, mostly to study the synapses and connections. You need live tissue for that. So we had to kill baby rats, literally this size, cut their heads off, take the brain, slice it, put it on under the microscope, and really quickly, because otherwise it dies, right? We have to use the tissue while it's still fresh. But I couldn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life. I just couldn't. I would carry those little babies in my hands. I was like, no, can I give it a name? Another thing that I noticed is that in the lab, you end up putting samples from one machine to the other multiple times. You go really early, you stay until very late. You know, your life is the lab. And at some point, once you're done, you get all that data from the machines that you collected, and you have to analyze the data. Most of the time, when it's really complex, you really just give this to some biostatistician or some bioinformatician to analyze it for you. And that's when bling, 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 the light came to me. I was like, well, I don't want to be the one moving things from one machine to the other. I want to find the results. I want to analyze that data. So I wrote my thesis in the Department of Bioinformatics. And by doing that, I learned so much. It was crazy. I again had a project. I had zero experience, but I had a project. I had a goal. And the professor from the Department of Bioinformatics, he knew I had no experience. I was coming from biology. I had some experience with Frontend, but he accepted me. And he said, yeah, you're going to have to learn. If you really want to do this, it's going to be hands-on learning, you know, and that's what it was actually. And I learned F# for that. If you don't know what F# is, you can Google it. It's a functional programming language from Microsoft, and it's crazy. But it was like a huge leap for me. And I started taking some online courses, especially from Code Academy. And at the time, Code Academy was completely free. But anyway, once I was done with that project, analyzing biological data with F#, I applied to write my thesis in a biotechnology company. And once all of this was done, once I delivered my thesis, and I started working actually at the company. After a while, I don't know how many months after that ran out, but it doesn't matter. I had to leave. The company was going through some financial problems. I was dismissed. And once that happened, I was for the first time in my life unemployed and looking for a job. I remember opening my bank account and checking how many months I would be able to pay for rent if I didn't have a job. It was like that. And during that looking for a job period of time, I was studying every day, non-stop. But this time, the basics. I got books. I have many books on programming, but I also did lots of online courses. I never paid a cent for any of them, by the way. And it's still, since I knew I didn't have that much experience with programming, I was literally applying for every single job I could find, either in biology, working in a lab, just like a lab technician, or for a PhD even. I was applying for a PhD in biology, and as well as full stack, because that's what I ended up doing during my master's, and as front-end developer, because that's what I have done my whole life, even though kinda. So I was feeling lost, and I know many people have been there. I had 5 different CVs in my hand. I had different types of interviews a day. In the beginning, I was kind of afraid of taking the interviews, of even trying, but the more interviews you take, the better you get at it. I landed my first front-end job during this period. After many interviews, some companies I had to do like 4 or 5 interviews, different coding sessions and stuff. But it took me 3 weeks to find my first job. And surprisingly enough, it wasn't through any kind of crazy interview and application in LinkedIn or something. It was through networking. I mean, of course I had to go through an interview afterwards, but I did meet someone that was working as a freelancer to another company, and we worked together. He recommended me and he landed me the interview. And there I showed them practical stuff I did. I showed them my webpage. They looked at the source code to see how my code looks like. Your website can be your portfolio. Your website that you created from scratch with React or Vue or whatever not is your portfolio. So be certain that you have a website. And don't go like huge dreams. You never made a website. Oh, I'm gonna make a 3D website with 3JS. Stop. Get some help. Just start small, do it simple, but do it well. They're gonna check your code, they're gonna check if all the buttons work, the styles that you chose. Even if you're just a front-end developer and not a designer, they also are going to look at your perception of UI, UX. Does this make sense for a user to use? Just some basic concepts that every page has nowadays that makes them look pleasant and easy to use. But this is something I can tell you, it helped me land my job. I showed my webpage, I showed stuff that I did, and they were impressed. They really liked it. So work hard to have something to show. I didn't even had a coding session in this company for an interview. In all other companies I had to go through coding sessions, but I didn't have the chance, or I didn't think about showing what I have already done. And in the coding sessions it's worse. You don't have Google, you don't have Stack Overflow. They ask you to do something and you do it. And many times I was just sitting there like, I don't know.
I don't know.
When you're nervous, you start mixing up different languages as well. So some variables I would write like Python, so other ones I would just put like JavaScript. It was like chaos. I was brain dead in a few interviews. Terrible. And don't give up because one company said no. Just go to the other one. And the networking part is really important. So in summary, here are the top tips I can give you. First one, have a project. Have something to do, a real thing, a real project, and do it from beginning to end. Start small. Learn a programming language. If it is front-end, what you want to do. Start with JavaScript, right? HTML and CSS. Think about one problem that you have and solve it. If you don't have any ideas, if you just can't do it, look for a local business. Look for a local business next to you. Maybe a small shop, maybe a small restaurant nearby your neighbor, and see if they have a webpage. If they say no, offer to do it for free. Offer them to do a simple page, one pager, scroll down with all the information, a map, contact information, some pictures. That's how you start. You need something to do. I know it's weird because those friends that were studying computer science, they would say things like, you can do everything, isn't it wonderful? And in my mind I was just like, everything like what? So I do understand if you can't have an idea out of nowhere, I'm gonna do this. So as I said, look for opportunities around you. Look for people around you. Networking. Talk to people. I have to say this multiple times because I know that many people, including me, people that love technology and programming and are all the time on the computers, they don't talk to people. I don't talk to people, but I had to. And be nice to them, please. Be nice to people. Have a website. Make your portfolio your site. Make it simple. Make it good. Clean code. Commented code. Make it nice. Fourth, I shouldn't have started like this. I can do this. Study. And look for free online courses. If you want to pay for them, it's also fine. Get the books if you like books. I love books. And learn the basics. That's the last one. That's the last one because it is important in the long run. It's gonna save you some time doing projects. You don't have to stop all the time to look for basic concepts. And it's gonna help with a few interviews to learn the basics, to know how internet works. I have a few videos that I actually did during my time of looking for a job. What's the DOM? How code turns into a web page, and be confident. You can do this. Well, that was a long story. I hope this brings you something. I hope you can apply and can use some of these tips. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video if you enjoy it, and I hope you land that first job. Please let me know if when you do. Feel free to share your thoughts and your challenges, your experiences. I would love to hear them all. And I see you guys in the next one. Bye.